All right, we carry this conversation forward to Talk of the Nation. A week after the Finance Ministry initiated tax bill proposals for the 2026-2027 financial year, members of the Tax Justice Alliance Uganda have pushed back against them. Instead, they warn that planned increases in excise duty on fuel, mobile money, cash withdrawals, and essential household commodities such as sugar, cooking oil, and cement risk deepening inequality and could undermine economic recovery. Now, this evening, we are looking at what is behind the concerns raised, and to help us appreciate this, we do have John Walugembe, the Executive Director of the Federation of the Small and Medium Enterprises. Good evening to you, John, and thank you for joining us.
Good evening, Mildred. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much.
To discuss matters business, to discuss the impact that this tax regime as proposed will have on the economy and on businesses in the country.
Okay, let us actually start from there. Your general assessment of these proposals, especially within Uganda's current economic climate.
Well, I would say on the whole, the proposals are fair, because if you look at the fact that government has given tax relief to people who earn less than 335,000 per month, and government has foregone revenue of 96 billion, I think it's a good thing, because then that money will be spent in the economy. Now, if you look at the issues that our colleagues raised, because my colleagues from the Tax Justice Alliance, and we are members of that, of course, are saying remove this, remove this, remove this, then where will government collect tax from? So if you look at the excise duty, government has gone for what we call sin taxes. They put tax on things where they want you to reduce either consumption or whatever, like alcohol. If they have placed excise duty on alcohol, you the consumer, you reduce if you think it's exorbitant. You know, if they put tax on sugar, they are trying to communicate that maybe we should take less sugar. If they are putting taxes on fuel, I think that one is really opportunistic. They just want to collect more money from us. But so it's a balanced thing, you know. Government gives you with one hand and it will need the money on the other hand. And if you look at the fact that they've raised the value-added tax threshold, you know, that also gives relief to many businesses who have been struggling with the heavy compliance burden. See, so I would say that it's a fair labor. And then if you look at the fact that government is going to increase salaries for arts teachers, that's also a stimulus in the economy. So I think we need to look at this budget in a balanced kind of way.
But now we just spoke about this off air. Is it fair to increase taxes when people's income is stagnant? You have said the government wavered for those who are earning 300,000 below.
Yes,
but
or the
even
majority.
but even those who are paying, or the payee, for instance, if there is an increase, their income is not increasing. How fair is that?
Well, it's a difficult kind of question. The fact is that what government has done in pay is what we call vertical equity. In a good tax regime, people who earn more should pay more, people who earn less should pay less. And all of us agree that people who earn small amounts of money should get some form of relief. Now, government has started by saying, let's start from 335,000 and below, you don't pay as you earn. We need to appreciate, in my opinion, this is a positive, because we've pushed this for years and we are not making movement. We've pushed the fact that the VAT threshold should be raised for years and we've not been seeing any progress, except that this year we've started to see progress. Obviously, there are things in the budget that we don't like, personally at least. You see, this capital gains tax on personal assets, these taxes on cement, on grout and so on, I think that you're penalizing. Yeah? People are helping you to build houses, you have a housing shortage, and then you're penalizing people who are investing their own resources there. You're increasing the transfer fees for land, the stamp duty from 1.5% to 3%. You know, so I think some of those, they need to be thought through very carefully. And then when you look at the issue of mobile money withdrawals, you're promoting the digital economy, and then you're imposing a 0.5% excise duty on withdrawals. This is unlike what other countries are doing. Then why don't you standardize it across the financial sector so that even people withdrawing from ATMs and agency banking pay the same fee? Because the issue with the tax, it has to be fair. Yeah.
And so now looking at, others are viewing this as a very ambitious thing from the URA, looking at their new target of 40 trillion shillings in taxes. Isn't this so quite very ambitious?
Yeah, I agree with them. It's a very ambitious target.
And so how can they then meet that target?
No, I leave it to them. I'm not the employee, but I'm saying it's an ambitious target. And some of the actions that have been taken prior to this will affect the ability to reach that target. If you look at these trade order operations across the country, small businesses are being pushed off the streets, their workplaces are being demolished. I think this is a wrong move, and it's likely to impact your ability to collect tax. Mind you, 65% of our tax is indirect. You want to incentivize consumption. So if a small business is contributing to consumption, then they're actually helping you to collect tax. So this is a tough call, to be honest. And we are also in an uncertain macroeconomic environment with the war in Iran. We are likely to see inflationary pressures, so on. So it's a tough one. Maybe the positive thing is that government has indicated that starting in October, oil may start to flow. So if the oil flows with the current high prices, then it's a windfall for Uganda. And maybe that can compensate for the shortfall in domestic revenue collection.
Okay. And so looking at the proposed taxes, obviously it has not received positive welcome from the citizens. But we'd like to know from the small, medium enterprises or from the SMEs, how are they welcoming these proposals? Are they in a way catered for, or are they affected?
Taxes can't be welcomed. No one has ever welcomed taxes. I think there are things we say government has done well, like on the issue of the value-added tax threshold. Also on the penalties, IFRIS, at some point it was 6 million, now it has put at 200,000. So they've done well there. But then there are other proposals that we think need to be well thought through. And as a federation, we shall be going to Parliament on the 9th and 10th so that we make concrete proposals on what we believe ought to be changed.
Okay.
Yes.
And so now looking at, as we conclude this conversation, looking at the Auditor General's report, the URA's tax list has nearly 5 million taxpayers, but only about 2.5 million paid tax last year out of nearly 50 million Ugandans. How will the URA, in your view, meet its new target? Or how can they get more Ugandans in the tax?
You see, the tax register is bloated. It has people who shouldn't be there. Border riders who are buying borders have to get a tin and then the tax register. Farmers and so on. So in our quest to formalize and increase the tax register, we've put people that shouldn't be there. So part of what the Auditor General recommended is that we need to clean up the tax register. Let's leave people who are engaged in enterprise, who are going to pay. Let's not just have a big list that doesn't do much. In any case, our tax regime is mainly indirect. So you don't necessarily need to have people on the tax register for you to collect tax from them. You may have only 1 or 2 people who help you collect tax, and they contribute the bulk to your collection. So for me, the number of people on the tax register is immaterial. The issue is how much are they actually contributing. Don't bloat it with people who are not going to contribute much.
What will be your parting shot?
My parting shot is that tax proposals will always receive mixed reactions, but overall I would say that these tax proposals this year have generally been pro-poor, especially stimulating demand by making sure that low-income earners are able to keep their money and spend it. Arts teachers get their salaries increased, but in return that money has to be collected from someone. And that's why they're increasing taxes on things like fuel and so on and so forth. I think that discussion is the other relief that has been given to the workers. Will it justify these taxes that are being placed on these essential commodities? Because that can also impact businesses, because then their cost of production will go up. If you look at fuel fuel is a driver, petroleum products are a driver.
Right.
Yes, and they might influence or increase the cost of production for these businesses. So these are the discussions we ought to have now that we have an opportunity to engage with Parliament.
Okay, thank you. John Walugembe, the Executive Director of the Federation of Small and Medium Enterprises, getting to help us understand